Hello everybody, Josh12 back here again with another video, and I'm here with another review, and I'm here to review The Return of the King. Yes, that is Ash versus the Evil Dead on Starz channel. If you have been living under a rock, essentially Starz and Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell came together to create a sequel TV show based off the Evil Dead franchise. Now, of course, the Evil Dead franchise is an amazing trilogy of awesome movies, and of course they made a remake which was also pretty badass. The Evil Dead franchise has always been very consistent and awesome, and I'm just glad that they made a TV show. Every single piece of horror content that's in a TV show has been just fodder for just this show right here that I'm reviewing. The King has come back, and I'm here to review it. Of course, I'm reviewing Ash vs. Evil Dead, Episode 1, titled El Jefe. Now, number one thing I have to say, if you're not an Evil Dead fan, then I feel like the best thing to do is to watch the movies prior to getting into this episode, because I feel like you have to already be an automatic fan to watch this show, which is kind of sad because there's a lot of things that, and there's a lot of like Sam Raimi isms that I feel like if you weren't a prior fan, that you just have to go back and just watch them. Hopefully you were smart and you actually were watching the marathon that Starz released prior to the premiere of Ash vs. Evil Dead. And on top of that, they also had Bruce Campbell, the badass himself, actually host the marathon. So you got to hear his thoughts on it, and you know, his personal thoughts on the premiere of the show, all that kind of cool stuff. So hopefully, if you weren't already a fan, hopefully you became a fan, because that was just badass. I'm just saying, you got to get a marathon hosted by Bruce Campbell, you got to see the premiere, you got to see fucking Ash vs. Evil Dead. There was a lot of cool shit that happened last night. Hopefully you stayed awake, because I know, it was very late in the day. However, from here on out, all episodes will be coming out at 9 o'clock on Saturday night, so it's not going to be like a whole midnight fucking threader. But anyways, that being said, let's get into this episode. And of course, this episode may contain spoilers, so please keep that in mind. So check out the episode and then come back so we can talk all things about the King. Now, that being said, this episode, obviously, this whole series takes place after the Evil Dead franchise is done. I think the weird thing about it is that a lot of things have changed. Obviously, Bruce Campbell, Ash Williams is obviously living his normal life. He's been living a very mundane, kind of calm life, just doing whatever the hell he wants. He's working at, some crappy ass store. He just freaking goes to bars, seeking out sympathy from women because he doesn't have a freaking hand. All that kind of crazy, wacky Ash-isms. And of course, over the course of the episode, he makes a ridiculous recovery that apparently at some point in his stupor, he accidentally read from the Book of the Dead, obviously, and of course the Deadites have returned and are seeking their revenge and are coming after Ash once again. And of course the whole episode is just culminating into the major climax as to where Ash must return to the evil badass that he is to destroy and defeat the Army of the Dead, or the Army of Darkness, or whatever the hell you want to call them. The Army of the freaking Deadites. So it's pretty much Ash versus Deadites, Ash versus the Evil Dead, once again. So that's pretty much the overall premise of the show, and the overall premise of the TV episode that we got to see last night. However, I feel like the weird thing about the show is, that really stood out to me, is that where does this show really take place? I mean, like, I know it obviously takes place at least a couple decades after the events of the original trilogy. However, the thing that I always kind of wondered going into the show is that, does this have any kind of real continuity with anything that was set in the third film and in the second film, and of course with the remake? Because if you watch the remake, there was like that post-credits scene, I guess, where they showed off a freaking scene of Ash. Bruce Campbell was in there for like a split second just to say groovy, and it was pretty cool to see that kind of shit go down. However, because of licensing issues, I don't know if they're able to reference a lot of things that happen, especially in the third film. I know they kind of reference stuff in the sequel, Evil Dead, Dead by Dawn. However, when it came to the Army of the the third film, Army of Darkness, they didn't really reference a lot of stuff. Like, there's no real references to like him going back to the past. There's no real references to like smart, S smart, the stuff like that. Those kind of jokes. there wasn't really anything referencing to that specific movie. So, and also the remake, like my big question is like, will this show have any kind of real continuity with that movie? Will this show ever be connected to that movie? I feel like that's a question I really want answered, and hopefully we get that by the end of the season, and hopefully this show gets a season 2, which I hope happens. I would love to see something like that happen, because I don't know about it. I know a lot of people hate remakes, especially the horror fan base, but let's face facts. The Evil Dead remake was pretty freaking badass, and it was very well done. And I would love to see, you know, especially the female lead of that movie to come onto this show and, like, you know, fucking kick ass with fucking Ash. That would have been really badass. But overall, the episode itself is really badass and interesting. I mean, like, it does have a slow build. I feel like the best parts are with Bruce Campbell acting in them. I mean, Bruce Campbell completely brings his A game. I mean, he is so freaking badass on this show, and he takes it to 11, but in a good way. You would feel like, oh, he's overacting, he's bullshit. No, he fucking takes it to the top, but fucking in a good way. It's so freaking badass, and he does a whole bunch of stuff that he didn't even do in the movies. Like, he's freaking banging chicks, he's freaking smoking weed, he's fucking being super sarcastic and shitty to everyone he's around, and he's still like a schmuck. It's so hilarious. Like, Bruce, no one can play stupid and serious like Bruce Campbell can. You can't. He's just a master at it. He's the master of combining comedy with horror and dramatics. He's just the best at it. And Sam Raimi not only co-writes and obviously co-produces this show, but he also directed the episode, and it very much tells. I mean, Sam Raimi, it's been a while since we've really seen him at the helm of directing something that's really serious, or at least something that's really good to this kind of tone. And that's not me trying to bash him. I'm just saying, like, the last couple of features he's done haven't really impressed me to the extent of this. I mean, this is definitely Sam Raimi and his brother and Bruce really coming to their roots. You know, they're just going back to their roots to really show us a good time. And that's what this show is really all about. It's not really like the remake or like other kind of horror TV shows where they take themselves too seriously. It's kind of like in the vein of Scream Queens, except more badass, because there's more of a legitimate story. You know, unlike Scream Queens, where it's like they can be super wacky, but you give them, you can take it easy with them, because, you know, it's obviously stupid, but it's okay because they're self-aware that it's stupid. When it comes to Evil Dead, they can get very wacky and campy, but because of the overall serious tone and the story and the existing, you know, storylines from the past, you can go with it. You can take it seriously at some points, but then you can be like, oh, this is stupid, but I like it still. That's the beauty of this show, is that it fuses, like, it's basically like this show. The best representation I can say as an example is like it's a basic awesome fusion of like the serious gory awesomeness of Evil Dead 2 mixed with the campy comedicness of Army of Darkness. You know, that's basically what it is. It's like Sam Raimi combined both of those stories into one, and there you go. You know, it was freaking awesome, and I loved the cast they got. I think the only negative thing I can say about the cast is there's not really enough time spent on them for you to really care. Like, there's a lot of characters that are introduced, and some of them are really good, like, and some of them are fantastic. Like, you have Lucy Lawless, where we got to see her in the scene. She'll obviously be a bigger part in the series, but I'm just glad that they have her on the show, because I'm a huge Lucy Lawless fan. I just love her ever since I was a kid, so it's great that she's on this show. They also have Jill Mary Jones, who kind of plays like this cop who has her own kind of subplots opposite of Ash, which is really weird. I think her character is the only real character that I don't fully understand where they're going to go with her, but it's very interesting. And of course we have Ray Santiago playing like the minority Mexican sidekick slash character to freaking Ash, which I think is hilarious. I think the best part about the show is that they gave Ash sidekicks. Like, you have the female opposite of, you know, Ray's character, who are just sidekicks to freaking Ash, which I think is hilarious. I mean, the only thing they could have done, like Sam Raimi could have ever done to make it even more hilarious if they gave him like a pet monkey or like a pet dog as like his sidekick, and he talks ironically for no reason, but he just does. I think that would have been even more funnier. But I just think it was just glad how they just had them as just sidekicks, and they were hilarious too. They were really good. I mean, the female character, I forget the name of the actress, but she was pretty good. She has her own kind of subplot where she's trying to get to her dad because her dad's being attacked by deadites, which I'm pretty sure he's pretty much fucked from now, but whatever. And then you have Ray's character, who's just like super into Ash, like in a really weird way. He's just like a fanboy. He's basically like Cisco from The Flash, except in the horror genre. If like Cisco ever like went to like a horror show, that's basically what this character is. And I feel weird like, comparing the two because they're obviously opposites. However, it's kind of true. I mean, like, it's basically like freaking Michael Pena's character from freaking Ant-Man and freaking Cisco, the character of Cisco from Flash, and you mix them together, that's basically what this character is. And I love that. I think it's hilarious. Of course, it borderlines a little cliche with this character, the obvious minority character. However, for the context of this kind of show, I think it works. This show is obviously very campy and very and comedic, so it's just a good fusion of the two, of horror meets comedy, and that's what Sam Raimi is really good at. If you've seen the Evil Dead franchise, or even have seen like his Spider-Man trilogy, you can tell that he can really do serious dramatics with a lot of comedy. So, and that's what this show really gives you. You have a lot of stuff in here that will please the hardcore horror fans. It'll please obviously the hardcore Evil Dead fans, and of course I definitely know it will please new fans. It will definitely bring in new fans, especially once again, as I said in the beginning of this review, that if you were smart and actually watched the marathon prior. So hopefully you did that, and maybe you go to Walmart or Best Buy or whatever and like pick up the Evil Dead movies on Blu-ray or DVD. I know for like Halloween Day they've been having some special deals for the Evil Dead franchise, so definitely pick those up. But overall, I love this episode. I thought it was great. There were a few things I didn't like I didn't like the slow build to the episode. Some characters I wasn't really digging. I feel like they don't really have a purpose. And another thing I really didn't like is the fact that whenever Bruce Campbell's character Ash is not on screen, you kind of get bored with the show. Like, there's a whole bunch of stuff that, like, action sequences that are kind of cool and kind of good, but, like, when Bruce is not on screen, the show fails. And I think that's the major, thing that kind of sucks. But hopefully, as the season goes on, hopefully, things kind of kick up and you can care about the other characters when Bruce is not on screen, so it won't be such a big problem. But for me personally, all the other characters were okay, but not, they weren't good enough for me to justify watching them. That's kind of like the best way I can put it. And another thing I really didn't like about the episode is it was really short. Like, for a premiere, it was pretty short. I would have liked it if this episode had at least another, 20 minutes just for breathing. I feel like it just needed 20 more minutes, and I felt like the episode would have been a phenomenal, solid 10 out of 10. But that being said, I have to get to my final verdict, and my final verdict is I'm definitely not giving it a 10 out of 10. However, it's still a really good, enjoyable episode, and it's an amazing return to Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell to the Evil Dead franchise. It's the return of the king. You gotta hail to the king, baby. And that's, of course, I'm gonna give my final verdict is a 9 out of 10. Solid 9 out of 10. It's a great freaking starter. It's a great premiere. It's a great show. The episode was great, directed by Sam Raimi. You got all the original characters, all the original, crew coming back, Sam, Ivan, Bruce, you got Rob Tappert fucking producing, there's a whole bunch of really cool things that go along with this show, and I just love it to death. I think it's awesome, and I can't wait to see the rest of the show. But overall, I do have to give it a 9 due to some other things I didn't like about the episode, like, some characters, developments, the slow build, and of course, the lack of Bruce on screen, and not to mention the fact that this premiere was pretty relatively short in comparison to what I think it should have been. But that being said, it was a great episode. So comment below, let me know what you personally think. What did you think about the Ash vs. Evil Dead series premiere? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What are your personal thoughts about it? How does it compare to the rest of the franchise? And what is your personal predictions and speculations for future episodes of the season? And do you think this show will have any continuity or connections to the remake Evil Dead? Let me know your personal speculations on that. And of course, that's going to be it. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Joshka12. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already. And that's going to be it for me. And I don't know if I'm going to review the entire season of this show, but I'll definitely do some more reviews for the show because I just love this freaking show. It's freaking awesome. And that's all I can really say. Hail to the king, baby. Hope you guys enjoyed. This has been Josh12.